Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A very short video on uh, what has become my favorite topic to make videos about, which is uh, a spiritual way of life, or deen in Arabic, Hebrew, Aramaic, dharma in Sanskrit. So I have actually noticed that most of my videos are somehow indirectly dealing with dharma or deen. And this was actually not my intent when I started making videos. I wanted to make mystical videos, but there's an inner pull inside of my heart to make videos about dharma, and I will use deen and dharma interchangeably, because that is what is missing today. That is what we are lacking today. That is why our spiritual efforts are not producing the results we want. We are not improving our dharma, and I've come to this realization. So dharma is an ancient reality that exists in all cultures on earth. There is a word for deen or dharma in every culture on earth. It's known as Tao or Tao in Taoism. It's known as Ma'at in ancient Egypt. It's known as Vodun in ancient Africa. And there are Indian names across the Indian tribes for dharma, because this has always been the core, the very core of human existential search. We have many existential questions we ask. Who am I? What am I doing here? Etc. But how to live the life so I can have peace and happiness has always been the central, 100% central question that we have asked. And books that tell us about the universal or the perfect way, the perfect dharma, which is known as Sanatana Dharma, or Islam in Arabic, Deen al-Fitr, the natural way of life. Sanatana Dharma, the eternal way of life in Hindu scripture. It's the same reality. Books on this have become what we know as scripture. The Vedas are books on how to live according to Dharma. The Quran is, the Bible is, the Tao Te Ching is, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or Coming Forth by Day, is our books on Dharma, because this is always what we have asked. And the people who are perfect representatives of how to live, they are the ones who become prophets. And in some cultures, these prophets are seen as God, because they are perfect manifestations of Islam or Sanatana Dharma, the eternal way of life. Because this is what we want. We want to live in peace. And the older the enemy of Sanatana Dharma or Islam, which is exactly the same thing, is our ego. And that's why younger people usually are very rebellious against, you can say, religion. You can roughly translate dharma as religion. It's not exactly the same thing, but almost. So that's why younger people usually are very rebellious, because the ego takes a large part of younger people. But as we grow older, we have suffered so much because of our own deeds. We have rebelled against the natural law so many times, and we have produced negative consequences on ourselves because of our own sins or our karma in some cultures. So we give up. We let it go. We surrender eventually. And that is actually a very common translation of the Arabic word Islam, to surrender. We give up. We just want to have peace. We are going to do what it takes to give us peace. That's why usually you have a little bit older people who go to the synagogue, a little bit older people who go to the church, to the mosque, to the temples. Or people maybe who are a little bit younger, but usually people have suffered a lot because their ego has made us transcend or transgress against universal law so many times that we have just got so much pain that we just want to have peace. So every person on earth is essentially looking for their dharma or their deen. They want to live a life of happiness. And the dualism of the world comes from which prophets basically we choose. Because a Muslim at its very core means someone who believes, because there's belief always involved in dharma, that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is a perfect representative of Sanatana Dharma or universal law or Islam. So we follow Prophet Muhammad's way of life. That is what it means to be a Muslim. To be a Christian essentially means that you believe that Jesus Christ was and is the perfect manifestation of universal law. So you want to live exactly like Jesus lived. That is what it means to be a Christian. Buddhist, same thing. Then you are following Buddha. So Buddha Dharma, Buddha's way of life. So this is where the division comes, because we follow different prophets or different avatars or different representatives of this universal law. You can also call it God's law or the divine law of God or Allah. It's the same thing. So essentially, I've come to the realization that why most of my videos are somehow dealing with Dharma is because I believe maybe that's what's missing. That is what we really are looking for, and why the spiritual practice we do, maybe yoga or whatever it is, it's not really taking us there where we want to go, because we are not improving our Dharma. We are living in conflict with cosmic law, and we are constantly producing pain and suffering for ourselves, and we can never really transcend our ego, because every time we transgress against cosmic law, our ego produces a very complex mind-based thought matrix of why that is justified. And that's why our lives become so complicated, and that's why usually the sheikhs in West Africa always say Islam is very simple. What the sheikhs are saying is that Sanatana Dharma is very simple. Meaning that when we start complicating ourselves, it means we are somehow transgressing the law. Hope this video has been helpful. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.